Good evening and welcome to episode 2 of Faith Sharing from Interfaith Saginaw. My name is Kurt Norman and I am rector of St. John's Episcopal Church in Old Town, Saginaw, Michigan. I'm also privileged to serve as president of Interfaith Saginaw. And a reminder that the 5th annual Interfaith Saginaw service of Thanksgiving will be held on Sunday, November the 21st at 3:30 p.m. We will be hosted this year by the good people of the Tri-City Hindu Temple in Saginaw, and it is off of Bay Road, across from Sam's and Walmart, two popular landmarks here. But again, that's Sunday, November 21st, 3:30 p.m. at the Tri-City Hindu Temple. We rotate the site of the service each year, and the Hindu Temple was chosen this year because the building is new. In fact, we are having to pre-record this presentation because several who are part of this gathering tonight are involved in some fashion with the dedication ceremonies for the new Hindu Temple, which occurred in the days leading up to the airing of this presentation. Pre-recorded though it may be, we gathered to learn more about the Jain religion, and I am joined this evening by Dr. Mukesh Lathia and friends. We will hear from them for roughly a half hour, then we will have a bit of a question and answer session moderated by Dr. David Nichols, professor of religion at Saginaw Valley State University. And so without further ado, we'll bring up Mukesh first. And a good evening to you, all of you, where you are.
Good evening, Kurt. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mukesh Lathia, and I'm a part of the Jain religion, and we have a very small Jain community here in the Tri-City, and as you can see in this photograph, there are two other families who are not in the photograph, but we have about at the most 15 families. In Detroit, however, there are a lot of families. There are 500 families. So thank you for this opportunity. And I've been with the Interfaith Saginaw since its inception, and we are in the 5th year. So we are going to talk about Jainism. And the reason I decided to do it in October is a few months ago when Kurt had come up with this idea about each faith, doing a little bit of detailed presentation than what we do at the annual interfaith meeting. I said I can do it in October because September is where our main festival is. The most important festival for us is September. So the next slide will actually show that. Manish will here show the next slide. Yeah, so this is, the name of this festival is Paryushan Parva. Basically, Parva means festival. That's actually an Indian word. It's the same word in Hindi, English, Sanskrit. It means festival. So this is actually a spiritual festival, which is celebrated to bring spiritual awareness and awakening. And it's an 8-day festival. So we'll go to the next slide. Yeah, the Paryushan is, why is Paryushan celebrated? It is celebrated to practice and uphold some of the main principles of Jainism. And they are non-violence, ahimsa, then self-discipline, which is called sanyam, and partial or complete penance, tapa. In fact, during this festival, many people fast for 8 days, 9 days, sometimes even 11 days, although the festival is only 8 days. In fact, Manish here fasts for 8 days. The Jain fasting is different than Hindu fasting, and I believe fasting from the other faiths. Jain fasting is a continuous fasting. There is no food allowed at all, and people who fast, the devotees who fast, they drink water, but not after sunset. So, for example, Manish did 8 days of complete fasting, no food, only water during the day, and then on the ninth day, the fast is broken, and that is a celebration. The other one is the swadhyaya, or the study of the scriptures. Our Jain scriptures, we do not have a book like a Bible or a Quran, but Mahavira, who is our last Tirthankara, or the last great teacher, his teachings are in a scripture which is called Agam. So we, during the Paryushan, we study those scriptures, and then there is also the introspection, which is, in the Hindi word, it's called pratikkaman, which means, one actually kind of goes inside and looks at ways to salvage oneself. And then there is the repentance, or pashyatap. So these are the main principles of Jainism. There is non-violence is one of them, but we also have what is called aparigraha, which means non-possessiveness, which means one cannot be attached to any of the material things. The other principle is anekantvad, which means the possibility of the infinite possibility of infinite possibilities. And then there is truth, or satya, as we call it. So during Paryusan, we are supposed to practice all these teachings of Lord Mahavira, and also the previous great teachers. So when is Paryusan celebrated? It is usually celebrated, as you can see, in August and in September. Incidentally, it falls with so many other festivals of other religions also. And during this time, it's written sadhus and sadhvis, which are actually monks and nuns. They, in the olden days, they used to stay in their village. They would spend their extra time celebrating their religion. The monsoon actually marked a period when these monks and nuns, they would focus on themselves internally, by advancing their knowledge, by reading the scriptures and cleansing their souls. Originally, these monks practiced this tradition during what is called Chaturmas, which means during the monsoon. But then, as life became more urbanized, Jains found it very difficult to practice the main principles of Jainism to the fullest every day. So the individuals found that the main doctrines of Jainism were beginning to fade away. So they actually practiced, not only the monks and the nuns, but also the Jain devotees during this monsoon. And that culminates in this parva, which is celebrated for 8 days. This year, it was celebrated from 3rd September to 10th September. So I will go to the next slide. So, can you just look at yeah. So the entire festival, as you can read here, is dedicated to soul purification and self-searching. And each day has a specific dedication. Jain cuisine is supposed to be devoid of garlic, onion, and potatoes. There are lots of Jain devotees, not only just the monks and the nuns, who never eat garlic, onion, or potatoes. And during this festival, the Paryushan festival, devotees avoid any green leafy vegetables and fruits. Mainly the milk and milk products are what are consumed. And many Jains observe 8 days of fast, drinking only boiled water. Some fast for a day. Some do a partial fasting, which means they eat only one time a day. some eat 2 times a day, but not more than 2 times a day. So basically, during the festival, there is a ritual which is actually a prayer, or what is called the puja of the idol in the morning and in the evening. And the gods are decorated; they're very well decorated, like as angi. And so I don't know whether Manish can focus on that, highlight on that. This is how the gods are decorated. Uh, so if you can see on the left side, and so some men and women and even children, they take the vow of the vrat for 8 days, and they read what is our main most sacred scripture, which is the Kalpa Sutra. And listening to the holy voice of the spiritual preceptors when they explain the 1250 fundamental sutras, they are like passages, in sutras are like passages in the Bible. And during that time, we almost every day during the Paryushan we do pratikaman, which means it's a prayer. It's the annual atonement. So we do it every day, and then on the 8th day we do the main prayer. So in this prayer we seek the forgiveness of those people who we have hurt in any way, intentionally or unintentionally. Because as I said, non-violence is one of the main hallmarks of Jainism. And so we do this atonement, and we ask for forgiveness from the entire universe. And ultimately, on the last day, there is a very long prayer, and then after that prayer, we ask for forgiveness from everyone. I'll go to the next slide. Now, so as I mentioned, each day has a specific dedication. So the first day is known as the day when individuals focus on clearing their minds of the daily worldly thoughts. It is important because it puts the followers on the right step by clarifying their thoughts. The second day is mainly for donation to the local places of worshiping, and also worldwide causes like any charitable cause. So the idea is that with each person conducting small acts of kindness, the world does become a better place. The third day focusing on connecting the mind to the soul by practicing meditation for enlightenment. Jains practice meditation pretty much in the same way as the Hindus do. And then the fourth day, the Jains believe that they receive well wishes and protection from the goddess Lakshmi. So they do a puja or a prayer to goddess Lakshmi, and they offer her sweets. Then we'll go to the fifth day. Now, fifth day is also known as the day of the Kalpa Sutra, which I mentioned before is the most sacred scripture. This is the day when people celebrate Lord Mahavir's birth. Now, Lord Mahavir, there were actually 24 great teachers, and Lord Mahavir was the last one. So a lot of people have the misconception that Mahavir actually founded Jainism. He did not found Jainism. He was the last Tirthankar, and he was born about 2500 to 3000 years ago. Now, the mother of Mahavir, Trishla, when she was pregnant with Lord Mahavir, she had 14 dreams, very auspicious dreams, and each object in that dream signified the characteristic of Lord Mahavir. So now I will actually have Manish explain those, and there are some wonderful hymns in Jainism, and we call them bhajans. And then I will ask Swati to sing a bhajan. I'm really happy that Manish and Swati has joined us. Both of them are IT professionals, but they are very devout Jains. So, Manish, you want to explain the next?
Sure. So thanks, Mukesh bhai. So Good evening, all of you, and it's great pleasure to actually talk to all of you, and be part of the interfaith community, I would call. So, talking about the fifth day, and the 14 dreams that Trishla Mata had. Now, each of these dreams were signifying what characteristics or what virtues the child will have. And the very first one was what she saw was a beautiful elephant, strong elephant with four tusks. And that's how they looked at it, that yes, the child will be, will be exceptionally good and a very high character. And the four tusks would actually mean for them to for him to actually carry forward and respect monks, nuns, laymen, and laywomen. So it's basically a character that will respect humanity and everyone there. The second dream, which was about a bull, and as the bull signifies, it's a highly religious and great spiritual teacher, and that's how we will be able to cultivate the religion for the masses. The third dream was about a lion. Lion, as it signifies the strength and the power. So as a leader, he's going to be a fearless and capable of ruling the world. Now, of course, ruling was not about really ruling, but actually showing direction to people to how to live their life. The fourth one was about Lakshmi ji, and Lakshmi ji is the goddess of wealth, as we call it, and when she was in the dream, it actually meant that he's going to be a Tirthankar, the supreme benefactor of all, which will have the great wealth and splendor. And here, when you look at a wealth is not not necessarily the money, but it's actually the wealth of knowledge as well. The fifth one was the two garlands. Now, as garlands were the beautiful flowers and the fragrances, so the sun is going to be the way the fragrances spread across. The sun is going to have the religious teaching spread across the universe. The sixth one was the moon, and moon as it signifies the calmness. So he's going to be the one bringing peace to the world and help the spiritual progress for the entire humanity. The seventh dream was of a sun, and sun, as it says, that is going to dispel the darkness of the delusions and kind of have spread the supreme knowledge, with the brightness that it can spread. The eighth one, the eighth dream was a flag, which nothing but signified that he's going to be a torchbearer for the religion and reinstate the religious order throughout the universe. The ninth dream was essentially of a vase, and this was basically, uh, carry together the compassion for all the living beings, and that's how when we look at and hear his stories, he's really lived up to that. The tenth dream was of a lake filled with lotus, which necessarily you kind of signified that the sun will be beyond worldly attachment, and then that's how we will be able to guide and help human beings to get out of the tangle of the whole cycle of birth, death, and misery. So it's basically getting into moksha. The 11th dream also signified about him, which was an ocean, and it was that how his personality is going to be serene and pleasant, and that would lead his soul to moksha or liberation. The 12th one, the 12th dream signified a plane, a airplane. Yes, of course, in that time also it was an airplane. But this it actually indicated the angels in the heaven that would respect, honor, and salute the sun's spiritual teachings. The 13th dream uh, was of the jewels, and this actually defined in terms of the infinite virtues and wisdom that he would attain, right? And the last dream was of smokeless flames of fire, which indicated that he's going to reform and restore the religious order and essentially help remove blind faith and the orthodox rituals, and moreover burn and destroy his karmas to attain salvation, which was basically a lot of virtues that his learnings throughout his life and what he has given to every human being uh, is what it signified. So yeah,
Yeah.
Mukesh bhai.
Yeah, so these are the 14 auspicious dreams that Lord Mahavir's mother had, and it was believed that these dreams had significance. So after he was born, ultimately he became the 24th great teacher, and he attained liberation or salvation. In liberation in Jainism, just like in many faiths, is actually being liberated from the cycle of birth and death. So they attain liberation, so they are no longer born again. So that's what Lord Mahavir did. There are many wonderful hymns on this, and Swati, who is joining us now, I would request her to sing one such hymn. It actually is signifying the 14 dreams, and it's a very wonderfully written and sung and very well composed hymn. So, can you focus on Swati or?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mukesh Bhai, for this wonderful opportunity to represent our religion, Jainism, for the Interfaith Saginaw community. As Mukesh Bhai mentioned, I will be singing the hymn or bhajan, as we call it, signifying the dreams of Lord Mahavira's mother while she was pregnant with Lord Mahavir. I will begin now. रूड़ा रंगीला सपना देखे प्रभु वर मात आई ऐसी अनुपम रात हो खुशी की है बात हो जन्मेंगे परम दयालु जग के तारनहार ये तो तीन लोक के नाथ हो खुशी की है बात हो पहले सपने में देखा गजवर निराला मोहते मेर हटावे ऋषभ सुहावना सिंह अनुपम देखा तीसरे सपने में चौथे लक्ष्मी जी वरदात हो खुशी की है बात हो रूड़ा रंगीला सपना देखे प्रभु वर मात आई ऐसी अनुपम रात हो खुशी की है बात हो जन्मेंगे परम दयालु जग के तारनहार ये तो तीन लोक के नाथ हो खुशी की है बात हो फूलों की माला और चंद्र विशाला उगता सूरज करे दूर अंधियारा आठवें सपने में ध्वजा लहराए होगा आत्म का कल्याण हो खुशी की है बात हो रूड़ा रंगीला सपना देखे प्रभु वर मात आई ऐसी अनुपम रात हो खुशी की है बात हो, जन्मेंगे परम दयालु जग के तारनहार, ये तो तीन लोक के नाथ हो। खुशी की है बात हो, मंगल कलश और पद्म सरोवर, पद्म सरोवर, 11वां जड़ा रत्नों से प्यारा रत्नाकर, प्यारा रत्नाकर, देव विमान और जगमगते ये रत्न, 14वें अग्नि की सौगात हो। खुशी की है बात हो, रूड़ा रंगीला सपना देखे प्रभुवर मात, आई ऐसी अनुपम रात हो। खुशी की है बात हो, जन्मेंगे परम दयालु जग के तारनहार, ये तो तीन लोक के नाथ हो। खुशी की है बात हो। Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swati. That was very melodious, and these are the melodious hymns that are usually sung when we get together in the Jain community. Here we get together. In the COVID times, we used to do Zoom. This time we met in person one time. So these hymns are sung, and we got wonderful singers like Swati. So there are just a couple, 3 slides more. So Manish, you want to go to the next slide? Yeah. So then it's the sixth day is the day of tolerance and endurance. So as I mentioned before, since many fast for the entire festival, these days are supposed to instill them with the strength to keep going in their spiritual journey. And then the last day is the final day, which is actually the most important day for Jains. It's called Samvatsari, and it translates to the gateway of salvation. It is the holiest day of our entire Jain calendar. It is an international forgiveness day. On this day, we observe a unique custom when we utter the words, and these are the words which have come from an old language called Pratrik, and it is Michhami Dukram. So it marks the start of the Jain New Year, and so with the Jains striving to start on a clean slate. On this day, Swetambar Jains also practice Pratikaman in the evening. We continuously pray for about 3 to 4 hours, and we honor our great Tirthankaras and their gurus. And then I think the next slide. So after that, we tell Michhami Dukram. Michhami means to be forgiven, and Dukram means bad deeds. So forgive the bad deeds. So the meaning of Michhami Dukram is that my bad deeds with you be fruitless. So concept behind saying or writing someone Michhami Dukram is that if I have done any harm to you, then those bad deeds be forgiven. Kamami Sarve Jive Kamatu me, Mitti me Sarve Bhuesu, Viram Mahajam Inne Kanai. I forgive from the bottom of my heart, without any reservation, all living beings who may have caused me any pain and suffering, either in this life or previous lives. And I beg again from the bottom of my heart, without any reservation, for the forgiveness from all living beings, no matter how small or big, to whom I may have caused pain and suffering in this life or previous lives, knowingly or unknowingly, mentally, verbally, physically, or if I have asked or encouraged someone else to carry out such activities, let all the creatures know that I have a friendship with everybody and I have no animosity or enmity toward anybody. That is what we ask for everybody. At the end of the paryushan, we call everybody and we ask for their forgiveness. We also post that in our social media. We ask for the forgiveness of the entire universe. So we ask that from all of our friends. And I think there's just one more slide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the relevance of our festival in these times is open your eyes and expand your mind, question your comfort, challenge your conditioning, inspect your habits, examine your beliefs, scrutinize your reasoning, analyze your motives, and interrogate yourself. So it's actually a festival of not just atonement, but very deep introspection, whereby we are supposed to come face to face with our inner self and try to um, carry out all the principles of Jainism, which is non-violence, truth, non-possessiveness, uh, to ultimately get the liberation, that is, to get rid of the cycle of life and death. So this festival, and I'm glad I could do this. Thank you, Manish and Swati, and thank you, Kurt and David. This was good that I could do this because we just had this festival. Thank you very much. So if there are any questions for Manish or Swati or me, please let me. Please feel free.
All right. Well, thank you. Let me get David's mic unmuted. There we go. And then I can bring Swati back into the picture as well. So David, professor of religion at SVSU, what's on your mind?
Well, first of all, that was impressive. Thank you so much to Mukesh and Manish and Swati, but especially Swati, because that was a great hymn. That was beautiful. And I was really looking forward to this presentation because, as I was saying to a couple of you earlier, I've been to India and I've more than once, and I've been to some Jain temples and became fascinated with it and have done a lot of reading on it. But I think there is really a dearth of Jain literature in the West. There's just not that much. And so this is an area that's a real blind spot for Westerners, even Westerners who are very interested in religions. They do not know much about Jainism. So anyway, I do want to ask you some questions. These are follow-ups from things that you said that stimulated me to want to know more. And one of these is that my impression was that Jainism is a monastic tradition, like many other religions, like Buddhism and Christianity has a monastic tradition and so on. Is this right? Am I right about that? And I've heard that even it is important often for lay people to have interaction with monasteries. That this is a very important connection. Do you want to comment on that? Explain this?
Well, it is, again, as I mentioned before, people think that Lord Mahavir actually is the founder of Jainism, which he is not. There were 23 great teachers, or Tirthankars as we call it, and which was, thousands of years before Lord Mahavira. So Lord Mahavira was at the time of Buddha. So the lay people can interact with it. So I'm still trying to understand your question.
So am I correct that there are monasteries? There are people who take holy orders. So they are, sadhus, I think you said, and like,
yes.
So they take special orders, and they are, I think, very committed to meditation. Correct? And
yes. Oh, yeah. Sadhus and sadhvis are very committed to meditation, very committed to reading the scripture, and which is Agam. The name is Agam, which are actually the teachings of Lord Mahavira. And yes, yeah, they there are sects in Jainism, just like all religion. There are Svetambars and Digambars. Now Digambars are actually, they are the ones who don't wear clothes because they will give up everything. So, but Svetambars, they do wear clothes. So there are different sects and different temples, and they do take the orders. You're right about that. and they're very much into the meditation. One of the main things about Jainism and why sometimes it does become a difficult religion to practice is it's complete renunciation. It's absolute renunciation, and that becomes hard. So this, for example, previously the monks and the nuns, they could not even get into a train or a plane because there is some violence towards the microorganisms when you travel. I practiced in India, and this was years ago, and some of the Jain monks, when they would fall sick, sometimes they would resist taking an antibiotic because actually are killing the bacteria, but then they would take it, but they would do penance after that. So for example, if I gave a 10-day supply of antibiotic, then they would actually fast for 10 days once they recover. So that is, the renunciation is there. And yes, the sadhus and the sadhvis, which are the monks and the nuns, they live in a particular area, but they used to travel by foot all the time.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, now, and they cannot wear any footwear. So when it's so hot in India, they still would go. Now those things are changing. They do travel, but yeah, they are the ones who actually take and they are, we call them acharyas also, and they are very much into meditation, and they really abide by agam scriptures. So you have anything to add, Manish or Swati?
I think you summed it up pretty well. Yeah, but basically, the monks and the nuns, the sadhus and sadhvis are practicing the religion to the T. We are taking only the bits and pieces that in today's day and age we can follow, but they are the actual preachers of the religion, as you say.
Yeah. Am I correct that you can get good karma by helping them, and when they're walking, taking them into your home? I've heard this is a tradition that not just for Jains, but all throughout India, people are happy to take them in. I've heard, because they're holy men and women, right?
Yes, it looks like you really studied this, David. Yes, we welcome them in our home. In fact, when I used to live in New Jersey with my sister and my brother-in-law, when they would come, in fact, it's a privilege to keep them in our home for 3-4 days. It's very strict because they would stay in a separate room, and they would do everything. We have to follow that. But they come and stay with us. It's a big privilege.
But I do remember, I think whenever they come, they have only certain type of a food which is prepared in a certain way.
Yes.
Yeah. So I heard this. Yeah.
To be a very, I mean, whenever they are coming at home, there is a lot of pressure at home.
Yes.
That we are not making any mistakes.
Yeah. Yes. For example, David, I mean, the food that is made today has to be consumed today.
No.
Jains,
I know that. Okay.
Yeah. Jains are not supposed to eat the food the next day.
No. I'll correct here. It's hourly. It's hourly. We
Really?
have it is consumed within the hours. It's in the morning. Food is prepared. It should be consumed in certain hours. Then afternoon food is prepared in certain hours, and evening is before sunset. And they call it gochari. They have gochari, so they have a particular.
I have heard of this. It's like grazing. It's like literally grazing. It's like, so it's in the West you might say begging, but it's not not quite the same.
No. It's gochari, and they come and the particular only they will tell this. We don't know what they're going to. We have cooked food, and they will only consume what they need. If I have 2-3 vegetables, they'll only consume one vegetable. One curry only. And the bread also, they'll only consume, if I have a loaf of bread, they'll consume only what they can have that moment, one piece of bread and a little bit. Even when in the morning, when we have to boil water for them, and they'll take only water, they have a container and they can use that much only water. So wasting of water also is that's
prohibited
for us, So everything is limitation, very limited. And they have we call patra. They have it contains 3 like it's made of wood. You know, olden days it was made of wood. Still, it is made of wood, and only they can consume little, and they'll put everything together, like rice, bread, and curry. Everything mixed. They cannot have separate. They put everything in one container, and they'll consume right when they go back in their place, and they'll consume that stuff. You know.
Yeah, so this is answering. Now, this is really answering my question. This is really what I wanted to get to: is this relationship between those who have taken the holy orders and those who are the lay people? Because, as I understand it, all of this food preparation includes concern that the holy people, they cannot just eat any food. I mean, so this includes the concern of getting bad karma from food preparation that would cause death, right? So. But you, as a lay people, can take on some of the. Am I right? You can take on some of the risk. So you are preparing some of the food for them. They're on the highway to salvation, right? They're on the straight and narrow. You're just helping them.
But by the way, this is my wife, and she has done a lot of these things in India.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of
I had an
sadhu-
opportunity because I stayed in a small village in Goa. So I had opportunity when they used to do Bihar. So I had, and my mom was not around, and I had opportunity to serve them, and that was my, I think, good karma. I believe.
Okay, good.
So Mukesh, I got a question. How common is it for the monks and nuns to wear masks?
Actually, you know what? In fact, it's really interesting. Most of the Jain monks and nuns, they wear a mask. So, in fact, there is one Sadhvi ji, her name is Chandan ji, and she's actually my sister's guru. They found out that very few Jain monks and nuns have got COVID. Now, there are some who got infected, but very few, because they are wearing it anyway, because the whole idea is to keep the microorganisms, to not kill the microorganisms. So yeah, the very, very common. Now again, there are sects. So one sect does not wear it, but I would say about 70 to 80% of them wear the mask. You know, so that's very common. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
But I think everyone, when speaking, they cover them.
Yeah. But when they're speaking, they always cover their mouth, even if they're not wearing the mask. So they always cover their mouth. Yeah, because it's again, the whole idea is, you know, to try to avoid violence at any cost. In fact, when I went to India not last time, but a few years ago, there was a Jain lawyer that I had met in Calcutta, and he said, to date, this is a few years ago, there has only been 3 homicides in Jainism, in the whole Jain history of thousands of years, mainly because the sin that we acquire by even getting angry at somebody paramounts to a murder. So I cannot even be angry at somebody. So the murder is the last thing. So there have been only three homicides in the history of Jainism. So and he had done a lot of research into that, and he said that he has not found, except for these 3 cases, there's not been any. So sometimes, you know, I'm a psychiatrist, and sometimes it's actually hard when one of my patients is kind of really giving me a tough time. My religion kind of precludes me from becoming like, you know, even like rude to them. Forget about being angry, you know. So it becomes an issue. In fact, when I was doing my residency, I was, you know, we have to do the mentorship. So I was actually with a very nice Jewish psychiatrist, Dr. Millman, and he talked about Judaism and Jainism. And so I asked him, I said, you know, I mean, how do I deal? Because I've got some patients and I feel angry and I cannot even show my anger. So he actually said that, well, you know, there is a repression and there is a suppression. You know, repression is when you are unconsciously doing it. Suppression is when you are actually consciously doing it. So what you are doing is a conscious suppression of your anger, which is okay. So but these are the practical issues that we do face every day, because you know, the absolute non-violence is what we are supposed to aspire to, and that is so difficult to do. But we try. That's all we can do, right?
I'll try. Yeah.
I have to ask another question. So Mukesh, when you were going through the PowerPoint, there was a phrase that you used that really caught my attention because I am a philosophy professor and it was very philosophical, but you didn't explain it. So I will not allow you to leave without explaining this
Okay.
phrase. You said, I think, the infinite possibility of infinite possibilities.
Yes.
What is that?
See, what happened was it's interesting you are asking me that. This concept, because there are actually few, as I told you, ahimsa, non-violence, aparigraha, non-possessiveness, and then anekantvad, which is such a difficult concept. And I was actually thought about this concept by this sadhvi that I'm talking about. Now, she told me that she's actually my sister's guru. So I asked her one time, because she had actually come to New Jersey at my sister's place. I said, what is the meaning of this anekantvad? She said that, oh, there is no definite truth. There is no absolute truth in anything that you come across. So there is the infinite possibilities of infinite possibilities. So, for example, she said that we are Jains, but we have to accept that there are infinite cultures, there are infinite religions, and there are infinite values. So there is no one truth. So she said that is number one thing. So as a Jain, for example, she told me that if you don't accept somebody's Christianity, you are not a true Jain. You have to accept it. You have to accept that there are infinite possibilities of infinite possibilities. And that is what anekantvad is. It's such a difficult concept. And she actually said that anything that you do, never ever think that this is the absolute truth. And you have to accept everything that is in the universe, because the universe has infinite possibilities. And that is, and when she told me that, it really, because for years I was thinking about what this concept is. And when she told me, it really stuck to me. That and then she said that as a Jain, you have to accept. You cannot say that that the other religion doesn't exist, or you don't believe in the other religion. You have to believe in that religion. If the moment you stop questioning any other religion, you stop becoming a Jain, or you stop questioning the. If you are completely focused on the absolute truth, which there is no absolute truth according to Jain scriptures, every truth is a truth, or every person's opinion is the truth, and you have to accept that. So that's what it means. I'm glad you asked me that, because that was something that was in my mind. And this sadhvi, she states, she's 86 years old, and she explained to me, and I think that's what my concept of that is. You have any other?
No, I think one another point which comes, which is like we define karma in 3 stages.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right, and the first stage is where where you simply do some mistake and you say sorry, and you are wiping off your karma. The second one is which stays with you for some time, and third one is something that will continue staying with you for a longer time. So when you look at these 3 stages, and that's what this whole thing about pratikaman and this just self-evaluation was coming from that. So these 3, and the third one is the most important one, which requires getting into salvation, and it is something that is attached to your soul so close that you really require to work hard to clean that karma from you. So
this is very helpful for me, actually. So I have to ask another question. I don't want to go too long, but
that's why actually,
as I understand it, in Hinduism, typically when you go to a temple, you go for darshan. So this is to be seen by the deity, right? So to come before the eyes of the deity. But from what I've read, Jainism can be quite different. So I think you can have statues of the Tirthankars, the 24 Tirthankars, but I've been told even though you make offerings to them and make prayers to them, they do not see you, right? So you do not. Am I correct on this? So it is different. Is it different from Hinduism?
Swati, you want to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little different from Hinduism in that aspect, because when we are going to the temple, and the going to the temple is actually a sect of Jainism, that they go and then they pray and worship the idol. So we have Murti Puja that does not actually happen in Hinduism. So Hinduism, you can only the devotees can only enter the hall, and they don't enter the main area, which is called the Garbhagriha, where the actual idol is established. They only view the god, or the idol of the god from a distance. They're not allowed to go inside and touch the idol and do the worship in that form. But in Jainism, we do a Murti Puja. Murti is like idol. We go and we wear masks, not just because of COVID, like even prior to that, we have to be in a certain clothing, a certain garment that is only meant for worshipping. We do not use it for any other reason. Like, we cannot eat in that clothing, that piece of clothing, so it has to be very pure and clean. So we wear that, we wear the mask, and then we do Chandan Puja. Chandan is sandalwood. So we take that, and we touch the certain areas of the idol, which is called Navang Puja. Navang means we only touch 9 parts of the idol, and that's how we do the worship. So it's not necessarily for the god to see us, but for us to be closer to God in some form and fashion.
Yeah. Okay. This is what I thought. Okay. Very interesting. I have also heard that Jainism stresses. This is kind of coming back to the notion of the infinite possibility of infinite possibilities. The importance of many perspectives. Like, you need to practice opening perspective, or maybe a word for this is darshanas, like points of view. There's no one point. Am I correct? There's no one point of view.
No, that's the concept of Anakantvad. That means,
Okay.
again, there is infinite possibility. So you cannot accept the moment you stop really doubting or not accepting the other points of view, you stop becoming a Jain, which is again a difficult thing when one is practicing religion. But it's something that as a Jain you are supposed to.
Is it fair to say, like, I'm looking at the background behind you, the windows and the curtains and all this. If I was in the room, would it be fair to say, from a Jain point of view, that there is no one single way to paint the room or to depict the truth
Yes.
of an experience, right? Like, it's just many possibilities for it. That could be equally true for your descriptions, right?
Yeah, it can be just a plain room without anything else.
As to people, just something that I would add as a side note, that Gandhi was influenced by mainly two. One was Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was influenced by Gandhi, but Gandhi was influenced by two. Main religion was Jainism. He learned the whole concept and the doctrine of nonviolence from a Jain sadhu.
Yeah.
He spent 2 nights at that sadhu's place in a small hut, Srimad Rajchandra.
Yeah.
And they had this whole conversation, and he came back and he said, okay, I'm going to practice nonviolence to get India the independence from the British, which was very effective. There was a lot of opposition to that, because people didn't understand how could none, but that's what he did. Like, he did fast unto death. He said, okay, if this thing doesn't happen, and so his main inspiration, although Gandhi was a Hindu, his main inspiration was a Jain sadhu with whom he spent a couple nights learning about what exactly is nonviolence. And I've read the book Freedom at Midnight by Dominic Lapierre and Barry Collins, and they have written that the British didn't know what modus operandi this was, because there was no fight, there was no physical fight.
Right.
And they had no idea. They were completely flabbergasted. And what is this fast unto death? What is this non-violence? But he practiced it. Now there were a lot of leaders in India who opposed that, and there was some violence during India's freedom, just like here. But I think because Gandhi practiced that, the number of people, although still thousands died, were much less, because it was an absolutely incredible way of getting the independence. And he would welcome, he would say, yeah, please arrest me, I will come.
Right.
And then he would not eat. And so his whole, it's interesting, there's a book written about that, and he said, I've been influenced by that sadhu. So he uses his, and then ultimately, Martin Luther King was very influenced by Gandhi and his nonviolence. Nelson Mandela was very influenced by Gandhi. So this nonviolence thing has gone around, and we feel proud as Jains that, difficult as it is to practice, I think it's an incredible virtue, particularly in this day and age. We need nonviolence.
Yeah, and that's for the same reason you will find very few people who practice Jainism as soldiers, because that.
Yes,
that
in fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think there is a law that the Jains are excused from bearing arms in the army. They can do duty, and there are some Jains. In fact, one of the presidents of the Jain Association he was a doctor. He was in the army about 10 years ago, but he was, obviously he's in the background. He cannot. So I think there is a law. I forget which year it was enacted, but there's a law that they have to be excused from bearing arms.
And Mukesh, you've said some things I think that are important for us in the West to also think about, like the concept of nonviolence, which has its own history in the West too, which Gandhi is tapping into as well. But the other one, you were talking about non-possession, which I thought, am I right that this is actually quite radical for Jainism? Like, ultimately, I mean, is it fair to say it's that Enlightenment is a bit like non-possession, like total non-possession? I mean, that as I understand it, that you and I don't own anything about this world. Is this correct? Is that right?
You're talking about non-possessive. Yeah. The whole concept of aparigraha or non-possessiveness is not just you don't possess stuff, but that you cannot have any attachment to it. You cannot say that this is my home, this is my car. That attachment should not be there. And it is, again, that's a very difficult thing to do. And that you have so much possessions, but we are not supposed to have any sort of attachment to that possession. So that is what aparigraha is, and that's again that's a very hard thing to practice. When you want to buy a new car, you can't say this is
Well, I understand buyer's remorse, though. That does happen a few days later.
Yeah, that's even the attachment. You cannot have attachment towards your own siblings and your spouses or your children. You're supposed to be detached from them. They are part of you. Sorry?
Especially for 8 days.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For that pollution, definitely. But even generally, we are not supposed to be attached. And sometimes it really kind of helps us in our practical life. My son just got a condo in Madison, Wisconsin, and he was moving his furniture, and he really scratched the floor so badly.
Yeah.
And so he called, and he was mad.
Doesn't sound like you've let go of this yet.
Yeah, where my wife actually said, "Don't worry about
No,
it."
I believe that. Yeah, this happens, is it? When it's not. Sometimes it's not. He knew that he cannot take the card, but he had so much stuff in his card, that heavy stuff, that he had to take the card.
So, but I have seen. I know Manish has two daughters, and Swati has one very young daughter, and I have two sons. And I think it has really helped them in the perspective of life. Whenever something happens, they sometimes, obviously they're going to be upset, and they tell us. But then when we tell them that, okay, this is okay, it's just a scratch and you can move it, and it's okay, then they have. I met Manish's daughters, and they're just wonderful, and they really practice that. Okay, this is just a material thing. You don't have to get upset about that. So
I think on a lighter note, many countries we find that it's a reverse way around, right? Where the kids have done a parigraha to their parents of they're not getting affected with what is happening.
yeah.
Letting go. I understand.
Yeah.
I'm already learning how to get rid of it.
Thank you, David.
When you
Reverend
achieve
Kurt,
that,
I don't want to go too long, so maybe we give it back to you. But this has been really wonderful.
No, this is great. Yeah, when you achieve non-possession, let me know.
Yeah.
Sometimes the possession, it ends up to where we are possessed by the things as opposed to us owning it. So,
yes.
Good teaching across the board that translates across religions as well, at least from my experience. Great discussion tonight. Next month, I can't believe it'll be November next month already. But again, the 21st will be the Interfaith Saginaw service of Thanksgiving at the Tri-City Hindu Temple at 3:30, and on the 14th, the second Sunday of November, we will hear from our friends in the Sikh religion from Mid-Michigan Singh Sabha. So we look forward to that. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to tell you just one thing. I'm not going to be there on 21st. I have to be in San Francisco. So I'll just record a little bit, but I'll have Swati sing one hymn. So it's wonderful, as we just heard her. And then I'll involve the other people. So because it's going to be in person, so I'll just have a little bit of recording third, and then they will actually take over.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds good.
Because Dr. Karu and I'm also part of that. We are working very hard. So I'm expecting a very good turnout, just like what we had at the Islamic Center. I'm expecting a very good turnout. And David, please attend that.
I'm planning on it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, David, for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It was fun.
You kept it so lively, and it was wonderful to get to know you now. And Kurt, thank you for bringing him.
My pleasure.